Hey guys, so today I have 5 tips to be that Christian example in the home. I think as men it's important that we not only exemplify what it means to be a follower of God outside, but it's more important within, especially when you have children in the home. It's something that they need to see in order for them to live that out later in their lives. First tip is your personal integrity. So if you say that you're going to take them or be someplace at that time, it's important that you do that, because children, I saw this quote years ago and it says, children follow your feet more than they follow your words. So if you say something, it's important that you follow it up and you do it, because what you do is what they do use an example as their mold to know how to behave, especially if you're saying that you're in a Christian home. The second tip is to have love and connection. It's not just important to be there, but it's important for you to connect not only with your children, but with your spouse, so that they know that if they have an issue or something that is stressing them out, that they have some place to come, a safe space where they can come and talk, either find support, just, be a sounding board, or somebody that's there going to give them some advice that they probably have not thought about before. Third is spiritual habits. Now, what you do when you're alone matters when you're among people. So if you are studying and having your personal time, your devotional time, it'll show up when you're interacting with your family. It'll show up when you're outside of your home. It shows up everywhere, because how you feed yourself, not only physically, I'm talking about with food, but mentally, but also spiritually, has a bearing on your life, and it actually will have its fruits, right? The Bible says, by their fruits you shall know them, and whatever you're eating ingesting, people will know based on how you're taking it and how you're incorporating into your life. Fourth is communication. So a man of God communicates differently than somebody that does not know God. When you know God, when you're following what He's asked you to follow, you will have different words. You will have different ways of communicating, right? It's not necessarily all the time that it's going to be verbal. There are times when you communicate just by your presence, just by how you interact with people, and that is important. So when you're communicating, and because you're doing some of the other things that I laid out before, especially with the having that personal time, it'll show up in how you talk. You're not angry all the time, you're not yelling, you're not saying things that you should not say, because your communication now is governed by what you're ingesting. And lastly is sacrifice and service. To be the Christian example that is necessary, it's going to require some sacrifices. Sacrifice of your time, sacrifice of your ego, sacrifice of a lot of other things that if you were by yourself or if you were selfish, you would not do. And that's one of the interesting parts of just being a Christian in general. It's a life of service, and no more is that service needed, I think, sometimes than in the home. We have no problems, there is no issue doing for people that sometimes you don't even know, because it's a one-off, right? And sometimes it's just you're looking for the accolade that you're going to get for, oh, he's a nice person, or she's done this. But then when it comes now to doing for those inside the house, it's kind of difficult, because you see them all the time. And you feel like, okay, well, I've done enough, because, it's been 10 years, 20 years, whatever, how long you've been married, how long you've been with your spouse, that you probably don't feel the need to go that extra mile. And I think sometimes that is where it's needed the most, right? Because now you're creating an environment where everybody is going to serve each other a little differently, right? Everybody's going to think of, well, how do I serve my partner, or how do I show up for my partner? And if you're doing that, then she might do it. And then they might do it because they're seeing you do it. You are, as a man in the home, as a leader in the home, the example for what is necessary for how the house should be run. Because how you set that example is what others will follow, right? If you're mean and you're stingy, don't expect the wife to be giving or your children to be giving, because, well, this is how they should be, and this is not how I should be. It's important that what you do and the example that you set is the correct one. And remember that for a bonus tip, and this is a bonus tip I'm gonna give to everybody, it is not an automatic that you decide today, if you're not doing it right now, that it's gonna happen tomorrow, right? Perfect is the enemy of the good. And we're not trying to be perfect. Well, we are trying to be perfect in a little sense, as the Bible has called us to be. But there are gonna be hiccups, there are gonna be little challenges that's gonna cause you sometimes to kind of trip and fall. But the goal here is to improve every single day. The goal here is to keep pressing on. It's not to give up. It's not to, well, I'm doing this and she's not doing this, or I'm doing this and he's not doing this, so I'm not going to do it, right? The example is for the man to say, this is how it should be done. And you're going to do what is necessary so that the example that you set will set the foundation for the whole family to have a better environment, right? It's this, and this does not happen outside of you communicating and spending that time with God, right? In order for you to emulate somebody, you need to spend time with them. And you can't emulate somebody that you do not know, right? So the devotional time, again, we'll go back to that because it's super important. It's super important. If you want to have that peace, right, the Bible says passes all understanding, which is knowing Jesus, then you're going to have to spend time with him. And as a byproduct of you spending time with him, your family now will have that peace that they need because you're emulating the right example, right? So I just want to encourage everybody that, don't give up. If it's something that you're not doing, give it a shot. The new year is coming. It's a good way to have these new goals, especially when it benefits not only you, but for your family and for your household. And just keep looking at the right example, right? What we've seen sometimes in other places doesn't mean that it's good for you, right? But the Bible has already set up the right example. It's just for us to get into what is there and to move forward. So I just want to encourage everybody that, it is possible, and keep pressing on. I'll see you next time for the next video. Comment below if you found this helpful, and if you've already implemented some strategies within your home that you've seen from what are strategies, did you have to change, how it helped you, and this might encourage somebody else.